Procrastination isn't laziness, it's self sabotage dressed up as comfort. And the dangerous part is, most men convince themselves they're just waiting for the right time. But the right time never comes. That's why so many men wake up one day, older and frustrated, realizing that the dreams they kept pushing for later slipped right out of their hands. I'll be blunt. Procrastination is one of the biggest reasons men lose respect in relationships, in business, and in life. Women notice it. Opportunities disappear because of it. And confidence dies quietly every time you delay what you know needs to be done. You keep scrolling, keep making excuses, keep distracting yourself, while another man with half your talent but double your urgency takes the win. Here's the controversial part. Procrastination is selfish. Yes, selfish. Because when you delay, you're not just wasting your own time, you're wasting the time of everyone counting on you. The woman who wanted to trust you, the kids who needed your example, the people who believed in your potential, they're all waiting while you keep hitting snooze on your own life. The truth is simple. You'll never feel ready. You'll never magically wake up with unlimited motivation. Procrastination dies the moment you decide to stop negotiating with yourself. Action kills it, and discipline buries it for good. And I'm about to break this down step by step, practical, real, and unapologetic. If you follow what I share, you'll not only kill procrastination, you'll start commanding respect, attracting more from women, and building the kind of life that makes people stop and say, that man doesn't wait, he moves. Start with discipline, not motivation. The biggest mistake men make when trying to stop procrastinating is waiting for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It shows up when it wants and disappears the moment life gets uncomfortable. That's why so many men start projects but never finish them. They're addicted to the excitement of starting, but allergic to the grind of finishing. Discipline is what separates men who win from men who stay stuck. Discipline doesn't ask, do I feel like it? It says, I'll do it whether I feel like it or not. That shift is brutal at first, but once it clicks, procrastination has no place to hide. Think of it like the gym. The men who build the best bodies aren't the ones who only go when they're pumped up and inspired. They're the ones who drag themselves there on the days they'd rather stay in bed because they've trained themselves to obey their decisions, not their feelings. A man once told me he wanted to start a business, but kept delaying it. He said he was waiting for the right moment. I told him the right moment doesn't exist. I challenged him to give himself a 30-day deadline to launch, even if it wasn't perfect. He forced himself to take one action daily, even on days when his motivation was dead. By the end of that month, he didn't just have a business idea, he had a business running. Was it flawless? Number. But he admitted if he had kept waiting for motivation, he would still be daydreaming instead of earning. That's the secret. Kill procrastination by replacing the question, am I motivated, with the command, am I disciplined? If you commit to acting every single day, even in small ways, you'll start to realize motivation was never the problem. It was your addiction to comfort break big tasks into ruthless simplicity. Most men procrastinate not because they're lazy, but because their goals feel overwhelming. The bigger the goal, the heavier it feels, and the brain naturally resists anything that looks impossible. The solution isn't to think smaller, it's to break everything down so simple that starting becomes unavoidable. When you look at a massive task like write a book, your mind shuts down. But if you tell yourself, today I'll write just one paragraph, suddenly it feels doable. That one paragraph often turns into a page, and that page into a chapter. The trick is lowering the resistance so you can create momentum. Men sabotage themselves by overcomplicating the process. They obsess over perfect plans, tools, or timing instead of just starting with the first micro action. Action kills procrastination faster than any amount of thinking ever will. A man I know wanted to get fit, but kept pushing it off because the whole process felt like too much. Dieting, workouts, supplements, gym memberships. I told him to forget all that noise and start with one thing. 10 push-ups a day, no excuses. He laughed at how small it sounded, but after 3 weeks of sticking to it, he naturally wanted to add more. 10 push-ups became 20, then 30, and eventually he joined a gym. What started as something tiny snowballed into real progress because he stopped fighting the mountain and started climbing the first rock. That's how you eliminate procrastination. Make the first step too easy to refuse. Once you move, momentum carries you forward. Overthinking builds fear, but action builds courage. If you can master the art of breaking big goals into daily bite-sized actions, you'll stop waiting and start winning. Remove your comfort traps. Procrastination doesn't survive in discomfort, it thrives in comfort. Men delay important tasks, not because they don't care, but because they've built environments that make avoiding responsibility too easy. Your phone, your bed, endless scrolling, snacks, and just 5 more minutes are not harmless. They're comfort traps. They trick you into feeling busy while your real priorities rot in the background. Think about it. You've told yourself, I'll get started in 10 minutes, and suddenly an hour is gone. Or you sat down to work, and before you knew it, you were deep in notifications, videos, or group chats that had nothing to do with your goals. That isn't bad luck, it's design. You've designed your environment to reward delay. Men who win against procrastination don't rely only on willpower, they engineer their environment to remove temptation. They delete apps, set their phone in another room, block distractions, or even make their workspace uncomfortable enough that sitting there without working feels pointless. When the path of least resistance leads toward progress instead of escape, you stop procrastinating by default. You know this is true because every time you've fallen into procrastination, comfort was there waiting. The warm bed that makes you snooze your alarm, the TV remote sitting too close to your hand, the phone lighting up with dopamine hits every few seconds. None of those things are accidents, they're triggers. And until you kill those triggers, discipline feels 10 times harder than it should. The most relatable part? You've already experienced how powerful this is. Remember the times when you had no choice, like an exam the next morning, a strict deadline at work, or a responsibility you couldn't run from? Suddenly, procrastination disappeared. Why? Because comfort was replaced by pressure. That's proof you don't have a discipline problem. You have a comfort problem. Once you strip away the traps that feed procrastination, your mind naturally shifts into action. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer escapes. Stop lying to yourself. Men love to blame procrastination on outside forces, stress, lack of time, bad luck, or even the people around them. But the truth is, procrastination is often nothing more than self-deception. You say you'll start tomorrow, knowing full well tomorrow never comes. You convince yourself that you work better under pressure, when in reality, you've just trained yourself to tolerate chaos. That's not strategy. That's laziness dressed up as logic. This is where I get critical. Too many men confuse potential with progress. You talk about what you could do, but your actions prove otherwise. You share plans with friends. You fantasize about the results. But when it comes time to act, you hide behind distractions. That isn't just procrastination. It's cowardice. You're afraid to face the possibility of failing, so you postpone until there's no time left. And then you say, well, at least I tried. No, you didn't. You stalled. If you want to break free from this cycle, you need to stop lying to yourself. Stop saying you don't have time. Replace that with the truth you didn't prioritize. Stop saying you'll start when you feel ready. Replace it with the truth you're scared of discomfort. Stop saying you'll change one day. Replace it with the truth. Unless you act now, you never will. Wake up. The life you want won't wait for you. Procrastination has already stolen years from men before you, and it will gladly steal years from you if you keep feeding it lies. Discipline doesn't start with a to-do list, it starts with honesty. Be brutally honest about your excuses, and you'll see procrastination for what it is, wasted time you'll never get back. The moment you strip away your own lies, you give yourself no option but to act. That's when procrastination dies and progress begins. Create non-negotiable standards. One of the fastest ways to eliminate procrastination is to raise your standards. Most men treat their goals like options, not obligations. You say you'll hit the gym if you have time, or you'll work on your project when you feel like it. That language already gives procrastination the upper hand. Men who move forward don't rely on if or when, they build non-negotiable rules. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't procrastinate brushing because it's part of your daily identity, you just do it. Now imagine applying that same standard to your bigger goals. Instead of I'll try to read, you decide I read 10 pages every day. Instead of I'll try to work out, you declare I train 4 days a week, no excuses. Non-negotiable standards create structure, and structure creates freedom. Ironically, the more disciplined you are, the less stressed you feel because you don't waste energy deciding when to act. You've already decided. If you keep giving yourself options, procrastination will win every single time. But if you set rules for yourself that are as normal as eating or sleeping, your brain has no room to argue. You just execute. Raise your standards high enough and procrastination stops being a battle. It becomes irrelevant. Procrastination isn't a weakness, it's a decision. And the most controversial truth is this: men who constantly procrastinate secretly don't respect themselves enough to follow through. You say you want success, but every time you delay, you prove to yourself that your words mean nothing. And a man who doesn't believe his own words cannot expect anyone else to take him seriously either. We've previously mentioned that procrastination dies when you stop waiting for motivation, simplify your steps, strip away comfort traps, and stop lying to yourself. Add to that the power of non-negotiable standards, and suddenly procrastination has no place to hide. But until you hold yourself accountable, until you value your own time the way you demand others value it, you'll keep living beneath your potential. Now I want to hear from you. What's the biggest thing procrastination has stolen from your life? Time, money, relationships, or opportunities? Share your experiences in the comments, and I'll respond to some of you directly, because I know this battle is one too many men keep fighting in silence. And don't miss the next video, because I'll be exposing the hidden habits that make women quietly lose respect for men, even when those men think they're doing everything right.